Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome with a new video on Python for Excel users. In last video, we discussed how we can create dictionaries in Python, then how we can add new items in elements in dictionary, and what are keys and values in dictionaries. Then we discussed how we can modify or update any item of a dictionary by its key. Then we discussed how we can remove any element from a dictionary or any item of a dictionary. Then we discussed how we can create copies of dictionaries uh, by using copy function or by using variable method. And we discussed uh, how we can create a self-updating copy of our dictionary by using variable method, and how we can create a copy of our dictionary which is not automatically updated for any changes made in the original dictionary. Then we discussed how we can use if statements in Python, and how it can be nested with else and elif statements for two conditions or more than two conditions. Uh, Now we will discuss for loops in Python. Uh, for loops are basically used to loop through any iterable object in Python and perform a specific repetitive action on each item or entry of that iterable object. Uh, an iterable object can be anything. It can be a list, it can be a dictionary, or anything which has more than one item, element, or entries. And upon each item, element, or entry, we want to perform a specific repetitive task. Uh, the syntax for loop is written as we write for, then we use a temporary variable which basically defines the specific item, element, or entry of that iterable object, and then we use an in statement and uh, specify the iterable object in which we want to look for a specific item, entry, or an element, and then we give a colon and then specify the action which we want to perform upon that iterable object for each entry, element, or item of that object. So if we read this statement, then we will say, or we will phrase it like, for an element in an iterable object, please run this specified code. And this specified code can be any action. So let's see how we can use for statement in Python. So let's move to Jupyter Notebook. In previous lectures, we created a list. So we already have a list available for us to be used in for statement and or for loop. And we also created a dictionary in last video and discussed various operations which we can perform in dictionary. So we have a list as well as a dictionary as an iterable object which we can use in for loop. So let's see how we can use for loop in Python. We write for, and then we will use a temporary variable which is basically the specific item which define the characteristics of a specific item of a particular iterable object. and in this case, the iterable object is new list 3. I will be using new list 3. So I will copy this. Then I will type the temporary variable, which is basically which defines the nature of items, elements, or entries of that iterable object. So since this is a list of countries, so the temporary variable will be countries, which is the nature of elements of this list. So for countries in, then I will define or specify the iterable object, which is new list 3. Then I will give a colon, perform, and I will specify the code which I want to run. And I want to print the name of countries for each country. So, or say each element is a country, so it is basically singular. So let me type country, and then for a specific element in this iterable object, for this element in this iterable object, and I will, let's say I want to print this element of this iterable object. So I will write print this object, this element, sorry. So I will copy this and paste this inside the parenthesis. So what I wrote is for country in the list of countries, then gave a colon, and then I commanded to print the name of country. So it will search the country one by one and print the name of countries. So let's run this to see what happens. What has gone wrong? The spelling is same. New list 3. I think new list 3 is not taken by this. Let me show that the new list 3 runs. So when I ran this, I got this. Previously, I was getting an error because the new list 3 was the library for this list was removed. So basically, I ran some functions again by going back to a few lines. So now I got this list, and now what has it done? It has searched these items, which is country, a temporary variable in this country list, new list 3, and printed the name of each country in the list. So now when I run this new list 3, I got the elements, items of this list. So I was getting the error because the list was not being recognized by Python or Jupyter Notebook because the library was removed or idle. So I just went back some steps back and run the commands again to get that list again. So I ran this. I got the list of countries by using for loop. Now, let's see some uses of for loops. For loops can be used uh, to enumerate a list by its index number, and to enumerate a list by its index number, we write for index temporary variable, which is basically the nature of the items, elements, or entries of the iterable object in which we want to perform the enumerate function, and we write in enumerate and name of the list in which we want to list the items, and print its index number as well as the items. So let's see how we can do this in Python. we will write for index, then the temporary variable which defines the nature of the elements, items, or entries of the attributable object. So in this list of countries, the temporary variable will be country, which is the nature of the items of the list. Then we will write in enumerate in enumerate and the name of the list in parentheses, not in parentheses, yes, in parentheses. We will write the name of the list, which is new list 3. And when we run this, we are getting error because we did not define the command which we want to run. We gave a colon, and then what we want to do, we want to print the index numbers of the elements and print the country. So now let's see what happens. Now it enlisted the elements of the list and also indicated the index number above each element. So that's how we can use for loops to enumerate elements of a list. We can also use for loops on dictionaries to print the keys and values of dictionary, and we can do so by looping through the elements or items of a dictionary. We write for the key and value of our dictionary in our dictionary search item, and then print the key and value of each item. So let's see how we can use for loops for dictionaries. Here we will write for and key, comma, value, and in the name of the dictionary, which is dictionary 1. Here, dictionary 1. So let me copy it from here. Dictionary 1, search item, and parenthesis close, give colon, and what I want to do, I want to print each key and its respective value. So I will write print and inside parenthesis key and print inside parenthesis value. Let's see what's happened when I run this. So here name is key and its value is Farhan. Class is key, its value is 14. Height is the key of the dictionary and 5.7 is the value of the dictionary. So this was the for statement or for loop that we can use on iterable object, be it a list or a dictionary. Now let's see how we can use or create functions in Python. So let's see how we can create functions and what are functions in Python. Functions are basically blocks of code which only runs when we call them. And you can pass data which is known as parameter in that function. And to create or define a function, we basically use a key, which is define key, def, and then we write the function which we want to create, and then we define the parameters upon which we want to perform the specific function. And in the code, we define the operation which we want to perform on these parameters. And after that, we define that we want to return the result of this code, which will be a data, and we return that data, which is obtained as a result of operations performed on these parameters in this code. So define a function which performs a specific operation on these parameters, and the operation which is to be performed on these parameters is defined in this code and returns the result which is generated as a result of this code, and that result will be our data. So let's see how we can perform this in Python. So let's go back to Jupyter Notebook, and let's say we want to create a function to sum two values or two parameters and return the result of sum. So to define a function, we will type def. Then let's say we name this function as sum underscore values. So we will write sum underscore values. Let me check the spelling. Okay, sum underscore values. And then we will define parameters which we want to sum. And let's say these parameters be x and y. These are two parameters or variables. And what we want to do, we want to sum them. And let's say z is equals to x plus y. So what we did here, we basically defined the operation which we want to perform on x and y, and it should be indented a bit. So let me indent it. And what I want to return, I want to return the result of this operation. And what will be the result of this operation? The result of this operation will be z, which will be a data. So return z, and let me run this. Is there any spelling error? No. Okay, I had to use a colon here. I ran this. Now this function is saved. Now I will just run this function and provide the values of x and y, and it will return the z. So let's see, I will just now use, I defined a new function which is sum values. So I will write sum underscore values, and let's say x is equals to 4 and y is equals to 6, and run this, and I get 10. So here I created a new function. Now add some new cells below the current cells. I'm here. Now add some new cells, perform new functions. So I created a new function, sum values, and defined the operation which I want to perform on these parameters and what I want as a result. And now I got the result. Now there are also some built-in functions in Python. So let's see those built-in functions. There is a length function which is used to give the length of an iterable object, which can be a list or a dictionary, and length function will enumerate or give the number of elements or items in list or dictionary. So let's see. We have a list which is new number 3. We also have a dictionary which is dictionary underscore 1. So let's perform len function or both. Len in parentheses, I will type the name of the dictionary or a list. So let's perform this on list first. Copy and paste inside the parentheses and run. And I got 5, which is the number of elements in this list. So let's see. This is the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has 5 elements, so I got 5. I can perform the same len function for the dictionary too. I will type len. Inside parentheses, I will type the name of the dictionary, and the name of the dictionary is dictionary 1. I'll copy this and paste it inside the parentheses and run this. I got 3. So there are 3 items in this dictionary, and let's see here, or let's go up. Here, the first item is name, the second item is class, and the third item is height. So there are 3 items in the dictionary, so I got 3 as a result. So this was the len function. The other function is max and min function, which gives the maximum and minimum value of a list which comprises of integer or float. So here is a list of numbers. Here it is a list of number. Let me copy this and regenerate this. Run this. So this is the list of number, and I want to get the maximum value and minimum value. So I will type max. Inside parentheses, I will paste the name of the dictionary, and when I run this, I will get 50, which is the maximum value of the list. And to get the minimum value, I will type min, and inside parentheses, I will type the name of the dictionary, and I'll run this, and the minimum value is 0. So this is the max and minimum function, which gives the maximum and minimum value of a list which comprises of integer or float. The other function is type function. We also discussed this function in our first lecture, introductory lecture. So we will do it again. Type function is basically defines the type of data which I am working on. So let's see. I will type, and inside parentheses, let's type the name of the list numbers. When I run this, I got list because it is list of a number. Let's say if I type any integer inside this and run this, it will give int, which is the integer. The type of number is integer. And let me type my name, and it will be in quotes. And I'll run this. It will be a string because my name is a string. And other type is boolean, which is true and false. When I run this, I will get bool, which is boolean. So this was the type function, and the other function is range function. Now the other function is range function. Range function is used to create a series of sequential number from a given starting number to an ending number with a sequential intervals or a sequential increment. And range function is required to be nested with for loop to generate the series of number. So when we use range function, it will only store the series, but in order to get the series as output, we'll have to nest it with the for loop function. So let's see how we can generate a list in Jupyter Notebook. So we will use the range function, and we will type range. Inside parentheses, we will type the starting number, and let's say it's 0, and the ending number, let's say it's 30, and let's say we want an interval of 3 in each number in the series. So let's type 3, and when we'll run this, we'll get the same thing, which is basically range is stored. And in order to generate the numbers from 0 to 30 with an interval of 3, we will have to nest it with for loop. And to do so, we will write for I, which is basically the integer which we want to return, and in range, which is from 0 to 30 with an increment or sequential interval of 3. Then we will give colon, and we will say that we want to print each number of the series. So we will type print I. When we'll run this, we'll get a series of number from 0 to 30 with an interval or increment of 3. So we got the number. So this was the video for today. See you in the next video. Allah Hafiz.